have any idea how much lipstick costs? For the sake of argument, I decided to come around to the other side of the car and see if my new sheet metal fit the old wood, which is still in place on the other side of the car. And I was pleasantly surprised that after a little bit of fiddling and pushing and twisting, that this new piece of sheet metal fits the old wood pretty well. Certainly a lot better than whatever's going on the other side. So at least I know at this point that this new sheet metal is going to fit the car if I get the wood underneath in the right place and in the right shape. It goes on around the back and tucks in the little slot like it should, and you know, this piece of metal has not been folded under yet, so we've got a pretty good lip up under here to be able to tuck under to nail into that opening, but we're going to have to work that around once we get everything else in place. But at least I know it can be done. I was beginning to have my doubts. The other thing that I'm a little confused about, or not confused, but wondering about, I'll bring the camera over here a little bit, is these side bolsters, whatever you want to call them, the main rails down in here. I assumed, or made the assumption, whatever, that the top of that wooden rail would be flush with the top of the metal. That makes sense to me. But I'm just wondering if that main rail was mounted that way. I don't know. Maybe somebody else out there knows if that's supposed to be flush. I mean, it makes sense that it's supposed to be flush because your floorboard lays across there. But the bottom line is that when I go to mount this piece up here in the front, it's a little high, so I can either drop the main rail down a little bit, or where the interference notch is, make that notch a little deeper, because ultimately, like I did on the other side, I've got to fit the wood to this opening that's existing with the sheet metal we have. So that's kind of where we are. Take a little more time here and then get back onto the other side and keep trying to shape that top of that wooden frame over there to get that sheet metal to fit properly, and maybe we can make some progress. Still working on this left-hand side rear panel. We had a viewer write in and give us a suggestion, so we're giving it a shot here. We put a little lipstick. You have any idea how much lipstick costs? Inside the metal, and then when we try to slide it down over the wood, it leaves a mark on the wood. You can see it better without the light, maybe. And hopefully that's where our high spot is. So we have a high spot here, and then we have another one all the way up at the top there. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's right in here. We got a pretty good high spot, so we'll keep trying that and see if we can get this side worked down so that things fit halfway decent. Always appreciate those tips, because we don't know what we don't know. Well, we turned this back panel into a two-piece panel. Ideally, we're going to get it to fit, and then we'll weld a piece in here to fill that gap. I don't know how we ended up that far off, but that's what it takes to go round the back and in the slot. And now that back corner fits okay, but the panel's just that much too short. So I don't know what's going on here, and I'm really having a problem getting the front section to fit properly, to get it to come down where I need it to go. I can get it back there just nicely, and then it's too high in the front. And if I pull the front around and get the top corner where I think it's going to meet the top of the door, then I'm too high in the back. And it looks like there's something too high in the middle here, and it's rocking back and forth, and I've got lipstick smeared all over the inside of that panel, and I don't see it touching anywhere, so I'm not real sure what's out of whack here, but something's out of whack, and we're going to have to fix it. We're going to have to blend things together to make it look right. By the way, did y'all know lipstick doesn't come with instructions? And when you take the lid off, you have to turn a little gizmo to wind the lipstick out. But you have to remember to turn the little gizmo to wind the lipstick back in again. Otherwise, it'll get stuck in the lid when you put the lid on. Just a tip out there for you guys that maybe don't have a lot of experience with lipstick. So, a couple of stitches and a couple of patches, and we've got our side panel on, and it tucks in the groove in the back and wraps around nicely and fits down over the door post nicely. I did have the door on there just a bit, and this is just a skosh high on the door, but I think I'm going to be able to adjust that in the hinges. So, better than we were. I really didn't want to have to cut that panel, and I've got to clean up my stitch weld there. I'm going to take this off if I can get it off. Hopefully, I think I can get it off, and weld it from the back side rather than on the outside. This will all be ground down flush, and you may have to put a little mud on there before it's done, but at least I've got metal on the side of the car. That's a distinct improvement over the hours and hours and hours I spent sanding and fiddling, and that doesn't show up on camera, but it gets to you after a while. But I think we're close enough now that this is going to look right. I think the real problem was that the original metal had, the way it was bent over the wood, it had an odd shape to it, and it just wouldn't sit over this piece of wood. So I had to cut the odd shape out of it and then weld the piece back in, and I think we're on there good and tight now. Of course, we've got to wrap our edge around and all of that, but that's a ways off yet. I've got to, really what I'm trying to do is make everything fit here, and then I'll probably pull everything off again and get underneath and make sure I've got all the fasteners where they need to be and everything where it needs to be, and then I'll come back and tie this side in permanently. We're getting there, slowly but surely. At least now it looks like something. It's got a cowl and rear fenders and doors. Who needs doors? Well, we're getting closer. We've got our panels meeting pretty close right here. We may have to put a shim or so behind one of the hinges, and we've got to get the hinges assembled properly, but our heights are pretty doggone close there for now. Good enough for who it's for. And we've got our panel to wrap all the way around the back. We've got our metal work there. Gonna take some finishing on that metal work. That's for the painter. And I think we can save this side. It's been a pain, but I think we got it to the point where it's presentable at least. And we'll just keep working on it.